Good day everyone, so hope you're all doing really well. There are three things that I want to discuss in today's video. The first being the new bundle that we have in the shop. So this is something that I really don't like for a couple of reasons that we'll get into. The second thing is the fact that there is no more public CN beta for Honkai Impact the Third, and what I think actually Hoyo is doing as a company, so hopefully you'll find that discussion interesting. And then lastly, a couple of channel updates, which for those of you that are long-term viewers might actually find interesting or relevant. In any case, so let's get to the first discussion. I do not like the Resounding Melodies bundle, basically for a simple reason. Bundles only have value when you can demonstrate that each of the individual items are purchasable in their own right, and that the cost of getting each one of these items on their own would have costed you 2,180 crystals, and thereby giving you a bundle, you get a reduced cost for the whole set. That, in my mind, would have been the fair and proper way to market a bundle, but unfortunately that's not what Hoyo does. You cannot get any of these items purchasable individually, which I think is a big mistake. And the second thing is, because the Primo Gems or the crystals here have a one-to-one relationship with the Primo Gems, it effectively means that the cost of the bundle of the wings and all the other little free goodies here costs you about 280 crystals. That's basically how I'm translating it. From my perspective, these things their monetary value is really unclear. So I'll mark them down to having a 0 monetary value because they don't enhance your characters, they don't give you any special abilities. Again, in contrast to something like Honkai Impact, where if you buy something, sometimes if you, let's say, equip like a badge or what do you call it, a frame or something, you actually get like a literal 1% total damage multiplier. So, and from the perspective of the game itself and the gameplay advantages, there are literally none. So I'm going to zero rate all of these things and hereby declare that in my assessment, this bundle is just a scam. It's just an expensive way of purchasing 1,000 Primo Gems. Sorry, that's my assessment. I don't think this is good. And for those of you that are perhaps interested, you'll notice that I've currently got on my account 200 Primo Gems here, as well as, if you look at my fates, 57. So all my Farina Gems, as I like to call it, are in place. I haven't topped up whatsoever. So I'm looking forward to a C1, maybe C2 R1 Farina. That's going to be absolutely awesome. But this bundle, pretty ugly. Alright, so let's get to the second part of this video, and that is the fact that there is no more public beta for Honkai Impact the Third. That is absolutely crazy. According to Marissa Honkai here, this is basically what Hoyo is going to do. So typically how it worked was that they always had public betas. You basically started with the CN server, and then they had the beta, then obviously the version dropped, and then the rest of us in global had then access to that beta, and then we would have gotten the updated version like one version later. So basically, global always lagged behind China with one version, and all the betas were public. So why this is important is because the information that we would have gotten is so important in terms of planning your purchases and knowing which units to buy and which units not to buy. So, and this is pure speculation on my part, I think what Hoyo is trying to do is consolidate all of their games, and I think they even want to consolidate the versions such that Global and China will have one Honkai Impact version going forward, and that they can then better, by obviously having private betas, hide information, drive more hype and excitement, and not allow you to plan that far in advance for your purchases, hence giving them more money. It's obviously a successful strategy for Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact, so this is, in my opinion, the best guess as what I'm sort of thinking Hoyo might be doing. But I could be completely wrong about that, we'll see. But it is sad, a lot of people are also disappointed with the fact that there's no public CN beta. I think for professional content creators like Marissa Honkai here, this is also bad because a lot of his content is covering the beta and explaining to us what it means. So rip, it's pretty sad. The last thing that I want to touch on is the couple of changes that I've been making to the channel. So the first one should be quite obvious. We've got these beautiful little thumbnails that Chloe has helped me create. Basically, she drew the beautiful Kokomi and some of the background here, and you can see here we've got a Kokomi and a Hida, Farina, Nuvalet, a bunch of cute characters, and I think that the introduction of these thumbnails really enhance the channel. It makes the channel feel really unique because this is you don't see this anywhere else. And I think what I've decided to do as well is either link the images here in the middle to official artwork or to anything that I can record like within the game. So here for Nahida's using her elemental burst, and obviously we're just using the smile picture. We take a picture, we activate the smile, what do you call it, emote, and that is how you create it. So I thought that by doing this gives you a much more unique and cool feeling with the channel. It links also some of the topics with the thumbnail, and overall it just improves the quality of what we're watching. So that is the other big change that I've made. I've also removed some of the content that Hoyo themselves would not deem appropriate on this channel. So for those of you that are familiar, there's a certain type of content that I used to make, and I think from Hoyo's perspective that type of content is not allowed. And secondly, the community behind that type of content actually launched a smear campaign against my channel, saying things like, you know, you're not giving attribution and all these things, despite the fact that Hoyo's terms and services are very, very clear that user contributions that you use through the Cognisphere service, which includes the gameplay, must be allowed or granted to all users without prior notice, attribution, or compensation. But, you know, legalities and all these things aside, I do not want to expose my community to that community. And I think from my perspective, I also don't want to have any indirect responsibility. So if someone plays with some of these alternative Genshin contents and uses those services, I don't want them to suffer consequences and then come back and say, but you told me, and it's like, it's a rabbit hole that I really wish to avoid. So from my perspective, the smear campaign that I had on my channel basically meant that I've removed that type of content, and I've also removed all third-party wallpapers. So basically everything that on the channel, all the videos going back, whenever there was like a third party like linked art and whatever, I've removed that completely. Once again, not because anyone complained, but because the people in these other communities had a problem with it. It seems that they are so obsessed with like taking credit for works that they do not own themselves and complaining about it. I just said, you know what, if you guys, this channel is going to be clean. It's going to be a channel that I think would fall in line with Hoyo's terms of services, and it's a channel that does it differently. So in that regard, I'm really, really happy. So for those of you that wanted to know why there have been a couple of changes here and there, hopefully this gives you a bit more insight. Look, I'm on my best behavior. I really have a lot of things to say, but I think in terms of what I wanted to say into today's video, I think that's more than good enough. In any case, Kokomi Clan is certainly going forward, and there are a couple of older videos, I think since prior to August, that won't have these fancy thumbnails, so you don't have to worry about those videos. They'll just have a generic thumbnail that might be something like this or whatever YouTube generated. So there would be no controversy to any of those whatsoever. Alright guys, so that's it for what I wanted to discuss. Thumbnails, obviously no beta, and just a horrible bundle that you should not buy. Alright, thanks for watching.